Good afternoon and hello everyone. My name is Isaiah Kettles. I will be presenting the strategic plan for implementing a high-level project time for implementing the patient portal and the elements of costs to expected throughout the planning stages of the implementation. I ask that you please hold your questions to the end and I will address them. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Isaiah Kettles. I will be presenting a strategic plan regarding the timeline, the costs, and the strategic use for human and capital resources. I ask that you please hold your questions to the end, and at the end, I will address questions, or you could hit up your questions in the chat. Okay. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about a little is this idea of a project schedule management. According to the PMBOK, the project schedule management provides a detailed plan that represents how and when the project will deliver the products, the service, and as a result, the scope of the project serve as a communication tool and a management tool to manage stakeholders' expectations, as well as it could be used as a tracker for performance of different report outs. And also during this phase, stakeholders could develop a balanced scorecard. Okay, next thing I wanted to briefly go over is the timeline piece to launch a patient portal for clinical practice. First couple things that stakeholders should consider to do prior to developing an actual time is to ensure that the system and the timeliness of implementation has a realistic timetable for achieving those objectives that's established for the stakeholders. When stakeholders get together in a steering committees or small groups, they should be discussing several questions as far as a tracker for them to develop the timeline. Some of the questions should be how to improve the workflows and communication, demonstrate meaningful use, avoiding an instance of duplicated tests, improving patient care, and access to information in which will create better and more reliable data. So these few steps is something that these stakeholders and these steering committees and stuff should consider on using to create a checklist so they can use as a guide for the patient portal integration and implementation. Okay, so far as like the timeline period implementation, it should be broken down into 4 different phases. Each phase will be like a check and a balance as far as where they at and on the timeline and where they need to go and what elements within the established timeline that needs to be ironed out prior to implementing. Okay, as far as like the cost of the project, it's way over, to studies that show it's over $100,000 to implement a full robust patient portal. And it costs about $85,000 for the maintenance fees to keep it up and running. And within like some practices, on an average, spend about 23,000 prior to adopting the patient portal. They pay about 23,000 in net benefits for staff to run to help launch the program. And this is just a basic diagram of the strategic use of human capital, some of the purposes why human capital is used, and how it benefit an organization, and most importantly, it benefits the employees who represents the organization. And one of the most fascinating things on this chart is the rewards of outstanding performance, which is used in terms, it creates unity, as well as it helps shape the culture in an organization. Two examples of a successful implementation of a patient portal. I have to say Children's Healthcare definitely is on one of the health systems here in Georgia that's really have a successful implementation of their patient portal, which is the MyChart, and as well as the VA here as well. They have the My Health eVet portal, which has been around as one of the earliest patient portals that have been around. And I actually participate with the My Health eVet, and I had nothing but good experience working with that portal. Okay, so I'm at the end. These are my references, and if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat box. If there's anything that I need to work on that was missing in this slideshow, please give me some feedback. Thank you.